I'm so excited to get started. I've already met these wonderful women last night, and we had so much fun just chatting and getting to know each other more, and I'm really excited for this panel. First of all, I want to introduce these two women further. Colette Malouf. Colette is the creative director of her namesake global luxury accessories brand with a licensing partner in Japan. After over 30 years building her brand throughout Asia and Europe in all the finest retail stores, she launched Colette on Brand to help customer-facing companies drive growth through elevated best-selling accessory product lines. And now we have Dr. Micheline Nader. Micheline Nader, who has a lot of letters after her name, guys. BSN, MPH, DESS, wow, is a best-selling author, serial healthcare entrepreneur, and president of Jesra Impact. This Jesra Impact creates breakthrough content, education, and networks. Micheline has extensive expertise in hospital administration, long-term care, and healthcare management. She's also extremely wise, as I have, I have gotten to know her. So let's get started. First, I'd like to ask the audience a question. How many of you have had a great idea, but it just never came to fruition? That could be for a business, for an invention, maybe like a pain point. Raise your hands. Okay, that's a significant amount of you, all right? And how many of you thought maybe that idea could work, but I just don't have the resources, or I don't know, and then you talked your own self out of it? Yeah. A lot of us, what we see today is the challenges in our own selves. So, this opening question leads me to you both. These women have extensive experience in business and overcoming those internal conflicts. So, Colette, I'm going to start with you. Please tell me more of your personal story with your jewelry.
Well, I come from an entrepreneurial family, so I never had any perceived limitations. And one time I was in college, and I spent money too fast, and my parents wanted to punish me. So they grounded me, and I fished around in all the coat pockets that day to find $5. This was 1982. And I made some earrings, and I walked into Soho, into the newest Italian boutique, and asked for the buyer, and sold a lot of earrings, just like that. And that was the beginning of an entrepreneurial career.
Amazing. I love how you just had that confidence, just go in there as a kid and be like, hey, I got this stuff and I know it's good. And it seems like you convinced them with that confidence. Would you agree with that?
I think when you have like a burning passion for something, you can have the confidence to share it with other people.
Amazing. Awesome. And Micheline, tell me about your background and your mindset, especially when it comes to what we were just saying, being that your own block. How do you get out of your own way?
So here, like, you have two questions, like, how did I start and how did I overcome the challenges that came from my own mindset? So first of all, I'm like Colette. I come from a family lineage of entrepreneurs. Like my grandfather, his brother, they were like AUB graduates, my father, they were all like entrepreneurs, but also my grandmother and her sister. Because we always think that the men are the entrepreneurs, but actually the women are the leaders. Well, my grandmother and her sister, we were in the mountains, in the Alay Mountains in Lebanon, and they used to work all year long to create the bazaar. They called it bazaar. They used to crochet, they used to do like the wool jackets and everything to raise money for philanthropy back then. But these are also leaders, entrepreneurs, right? Your second question was about what blocks us. And what blocks us really is our mindset. I mean, being men, women, whoever, I know that in any society, we cannot evolve except if 100% of the members of the society evolve, women and men, whether we're talking economy, whether we're talking about our being the entrepreneurs of our own life, or also the economy, bringing the economy, leveling up the economy in our society. So our mindset, all of us, and men or women, are afraid of failure. And all of us, the biggest culprits in our mind are two. First, our fear of not being enough. Not being enough of, or not being capable of doing something. And whenever we have any failure in our life, it triggers that belief. And the second culprit in our mindset is our victimhood. And I'm speaking about victimhood because I really want to address women, especially in our region and Lebanon. I know that our region is behind in the policy, and I want to piggyback a little bit on the panel before us, because yes, we can talk about gender equity, and we know that in the last few years, 70 economies have passed reforms for women, and among these, only 15 were in the MENA region and mostly North Africa. Algeria, Morocco, a little bit of Egypt. Lebanon has passed one, which is against violence, women violence, and we should not forget also children marriages. So as women, we can talk about equity, we can talk about the mindset, but we need also to know that through economy and policy, we can bring this change. We have to tell our daughters that, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do, but you also have to think about your economy, but also enroll policymakers, men and women, to change the policy.
I told you she was wise. Now, I completely agree that we are often in our own ways. Whether you're a woman, you're a man, non-binary, we've always thought that at point in our lives, we couldn't do something. But in all reality, anything is possible. So, I think something you said that was really important was just being aware of the triggers. So when we fail, it's really important to remember that that thing is triggering a trauma response within us from something that either we've seen in our lives or that has happened to us directly. But being aware can prevent you knowing, that can prevent the trigger from taking over your decision making. Have you experienced that in your careers where being mindful has helped you to move on? Colette, does that ring a bell for a certain memory? Getting out of your own way. It could also be in terms of like, have you ever felt like you wanted to quit, but how did you get over that?
First of all, I'm not a quitter.
We love to hear it.
I've been told over the years in tough times to give up. So I'm not a quitter, and I've surrounded myself with a lot of other entrepreneurs, which really supported me to keep going in the toughest of times. But my father ran a business with his 3 sisters, and he and one sister fell ill, and they had to sell the company. And so I came in and I helped them wrap up everything. Again, another entrepreneurial move, and a year later I started my own business. So I guess in my belief system, it was design your future. Don't wait for someone else to make something happen.
Beautiful. And Micheline, being mindful and knowing your triggers or just being mindful of your emotions, how in your experience has that helped you to continue and not give up?
It's very important what you said, because it starts with self-awareness. If you're not aware of what it is, and I know today some people discussed the glass half full and the glass half empty, and they said, no, we want to look at the glass half full. We always should look at the glass half full, but we should also look at the baseline. Where are we? And look at it. And if we don't know the real thing, we won't be able to improve on it. So self-awareness is very important, and also mindfulness. Like, take a step back. Crisis ignites evolution, and when you're going through a crisis, whether you're going through a personal or professional crisis, the very important thing you have to do is to pause. So you can move from a reactional mode to a proactive mode. Because if your emotions take over, then you're gonna react. And so in a nutshell, don't believe your thoughts. Stop. Exactly. Don't believe your thoughts.
The thing that pretty much opened my world is when someone first told me a thought is just a thought. You don't have to believe that thought. It's not real, and it could be false. And I repeat those things over and over, and it's really freed me. And I can imagine how it's freed you as well, as you have been the director of a variety of projects, including in the healthcare field. Tell us more about that.
So I started, actually what happened in my life, I was wanting to become a medical doctor, and I got accepted to AUB, the American University of Beirut in Lebanon. And the first year my dad died. So, and I was the eldest, and I looked at myself and my mom and I said, well, I'm not gonna use all these funds for me. So I then went and studied, did nursing, BSN, and I did my master's in public health. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna go into a field of epidemiology when the director of the hospital back then was one of our professors. And he recruited me as an assistant director to the American Hospital of Beirut at the age of 23. So I was tiny and young, and I remember going through security, I would tell the guy, because I did not want to explain every time that I was the assistant director, because they would look at me funny. And I would go and say, well, I'm going to see Mrs. Nader. And back then, yes, I was married. So that was started with the hospital. And then moved around. I was at the American Hospital of Paris, and I taught hospital management, and I studied. And I did turnkey projects for the French government, and then moved to Canada, took on long-term care with McGill University and started the first long-term care, and I moved up to create my own business when we moved to the Midwest, because I was tired following the pharmaceutical mergers with my husband, and I decided to create my own business. And a year later, after I managed 19 nursing homes in the Midwest, I decided, well, I'm letting other people win and big, and why not starting my own? And bankers were behind me. I had a lot of supporters. I had also a lot of women support because in the healthcare field, we have a lot of women. And I do agree with some of the panelists before that women were not used to networking, but now they are. And it's very, very important to, network and have a great support and to not only finance your business, but also sustain it and develop it and grow it.
It's beautiful. Now, for all of us who want to start a business, I mean, you made it sound like a piece of cake, like, let's just open a long-term healthcare facility. No big deal. How did you convince investors to do it yourself? Now, you told me before this event that you did not even put money, a lot of your own personal money. I'm sure you put your personal time, and time is money, people. But you had a lot of investor help, and to me, I always think we have to be super wealthy to be able to do something like this. How do we convince investors to go in on something that is a creative project of yours, and so that it can grow without us going broke ourselves?
Well, the first project, I must admit, we put all our money in. Totally. And also we borrowed money from bank. It was very interesting. Back then I was managing maybe 19 long-term care facilities in the Midwest. But I knew, I'm doing so great. These facilities were like struggling financially, and in a span of 1 year, they became very prosperous. Actually, we had like even quality care has improved. And I said, well, I could do it for me, and I had the intention. So what's very important is to have the intention, to know what you want. Even Louis Pasteur said, like, you can grab the opportunity when it comes, but you have to be yourself, have the intention, a clear intention that this is what you want. So in our building where my offices were, there was like this banker in Kansas City. And banks also, they had a foreclosure on a few long-term care facilities, and he asked me if I could help them. So I went in, helped them, revert the situation, and when it came time to pay me back, I said, I don't want your money. One time, you'll finance me. And he said, done deal, we'll do that.
Wow.
And it started like this. Now, I always say that business is always overrated because you go you have ups and downs, and you have to be like there on the forefront of it and proactive. One thing you have to do, especially as women in business and entrepreneur, creating your own companies, financing them, you have to reassure your investors that you are capable. So you have to develop your skills. I had already developed the skills through, my past. And you have to also create and not only be clear, but whatever you say you're gonna do, live up to your word. And if you're not gonna, because circumstances have it sometimes that you could have a shortage of staff or something happens in the circumstances of your business, be proactive and go to your bankers first or your investors and tell them about it and tell them what you're doing about it. So my projections, my budget projections came always right, and if they were not gonna come right because I'm investing in a project or like creating a rehab center or something, I would go first to my investors and tell them and do it like on time, deliver, execute.
So it's know your craft, be really on point with your pitch, and deliver. Beautiful. Thank you. I hope that helped y'all because it definitely helped me. Maybe I'm going to start a business after this. Now, Colette, you have extensive experience in business and also a really great mindset about small businesses and how women and people can start their own businesses and run them successfully. Because a lot of, we know the statistics, right? Over 50% of businesses that start fail. So how can we keep that momentum going? Tell us how we can do this in terms of economies and looking at our audience.
Are you talking about the audience,
Not this
No, I'm saying women in the Arab world audience?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that the first thing is, what problem are you solving? So whatever your passion is, it really should solve a problem so that you're not swimming upstream. And I think there are lots of problems in the Middle East, and wherever there's a crack, there's a ray of light. So I don't think that women have to level up to Western women in those societies. I think they need to look in their communities and see where the opportunities are. And one of the big advantages in the Middle East is that women congregate and they do things together. They have groups of friends that regularly congregate. So they have a built-in community of support. And those conversations around grooming can transform to conversations around life planning, dreams, goals, and action steps to getting to those goals. So I think one of the things that I think would be a bridge for the diaspora to help these women is to create a community that communities outside that can embrace the communities in the Arab world, because community is what has been my support system. I'm a member of a lot of organizations, and that's what has really taught me, has supported me, and I would encourage women in the diaspora to form bonds and build communities with the women in the Arab world.
That's beautiful. There are always ways that you can get involved. If you're not here with us in person today, this was great advice from Colette on how to grow your business from wherever you are. Thank you so much to the panelists here today. It was wonderful getting to chat with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you, everyone.